This game came out in 2019. It is available on PlayStations 4 and 5, the Xbox One and Xbox Series XS, and also the Nintendo Switch. Now, I looked at the reviews from Metacritic, IGN, Games Radar, GameSpot, and the views I see on there, the ratings on average from those are between 80 and 90%. That's really good. And I'm going to say the same thing about this game that I said about the other ones, for some of the other ones. As a person who's a true Mortal Kombat fan, I have been playing this since it came out. I think it had, as usual, the characters' costumes are sweet. It has amazing graphics and animation. The story is really epic, although it's really, really long. And I'll also say this, so when the game first came out, it was just called Mortal Kombat 11. And then afterwards, they had a few additions to the game, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. Now, there's also something that came out called Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath. And what that was it basically showed you part 2 of the story in that game. Now, this story was continued after the events of Mortal Kombat X. So you would think to yourself, like, okay, in Mortal Kombat 9, they killed Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung, who were the main villains there. The main villains in MKX were Shinnok and Quan Chi. They killed them. And then you think to yourself, okay, so they killed them off. And then, so what happens in MK11? Well, once again, they redid the timeline again, kind of. This one is a little bit more difficult to explain, so if there are some parts that I leave out, again, I'm going to put the link to the video, I'm going to put the link to the movie in the comment section. I'm going to put 2 links, actually. People message. Now, I will say this. When you look at the in-game movie from part 1, it is pretty long. It is 3 hours and 22 minutes. Now, the video is going to say that it's 3 hours and 49 minutes, but it's really the first 3 hours and 22 minutes that are the cutscenes that comprise the story. The rest of the 27 minutes are really just the arcade endings to each of the characters. And the Aftermath story is 1 hour and 57 minutes. It'll say it's longer than that, but again, the rest of it is arcade endings. Now, like most games, this one, each of the characters are given 2 fatalities. Now, I will say one thing I didn't like about this game is the fact that not only are some of the characters' combos not long enough, but also the fact that we didn't really have as much stage fatalities here. Now, they had a little bit more than Deadly Alliance, which had none. However, most of the games have it to where all the arenas and the settings have a stage fatality or they have a death trap. Unfortunately, this game only had 3 of them, 2 of which I thought were kind of good, and the other one, just not so much. The 2 that I thought were good or kind of good was one took place at an area where you can knock the opponent onto a hook, and the hook dips the opponent down into a lake of acid, which the hook is lifted up and it turns the character into a skeleton. And the other one is where the opponent gets knocked onto the ceiling and then falls down onto a group of spikes, kind of similar to how you saw. You remember how Shang Tsung died in the first movie where Liu Kang knocked him onto the spikes on the ground? It's something similar to that. And the third one, which wasn't all that good to me, was that the opponent gets crushed with an arcade machine. I thought that one was a little cheesier, but I'm sure some fans probably liked that and enjoyed it. Now, I'll tell you right now, there are some new characters that are introduced in this game, just like with most games. Now, in the original version, I'll tell you who's in Aftermath who wasn't in the original version. Okay, so you had Cetrion, who's a new character who actually was in both of them, but then as far as the Aftermath and the additions, you had Melina, you had Rain, Fujin, I'm looking at him now, Shang Tsung, Shao Kahn, Frost, Nightwolf. Now, of course, you have some characters in the game who were initially not Mortal Kombat characters, but you had Terminator, Rambo, you have Spawn, and RoboCop. And of course, a lot of the characters that you had seen in the games past, a lot of the original ones are here. You might have some original characters not here, such as, Reptile. You do have Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Baraka, Noob Saibot, Raiden, Jade, Kitana, Kung Lao, Liu Kang, Shiva. You have Devora, who was initially introduced in MKX. There's a new character by the name of Collector, some monster-like creature that has 4 arms, but he's not as big as Goro and Kintaro. Goro and Kintaro also were absent from this game. And there were many other characters, as usual, that were absent from this game that I believe are underrated, such as Moloch, Draman, Onaga, characters like them, Havoc. There's a character by the name of Garrus. The boss character in this game is Kronika, who's actually a female. I believe that person is Shinnok's mother. Shinnok was killed in MKX, as I had stated before. As far as the gameplay and as far as the characters playable and who I think some of the best characters are, surprisingly enough, I don't know if... So to me, Scorpion is usually a great character, but to me, they toned him down just a little bit in this particular game. If I had to pick the top 4 characters in this game, I would say... Top 4 or 5 characters, I would say Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Kitana, Jade, and Shiva. Now, some other characters I think are good, Johnny and Sonya. I think Shang Tsung was all right, Frost was all right, and Shao Kahn was kind of all right. I think Cabal was pretty all right, but he wasn't quite what he was in Mortal Kombat 9. I think that was the best Cabal I had seen. Of course, as usual, I didn't think Kano was all that because, let's face it, who really likes Kano? We could really do without him. They could have replaced him with Reptile in this game. We could have seen what Reptile had. We really don't even know Reptile's fate from Mortal Kombat X, so his status is yet unknown. Although he is believed to be alive, but we'll see what happens in that. We'll see what happens in the next game. So, I think the game is well worth it. I think the fatalities are quite sick, to say the least, and I mean that both in a good and bad way. Anybody who knows Mortal Kombat really gets the gist of what I'm talking about on that one. They have the X-ray moves, but in here they're more referred to as fatal blows. And of course, it's followed by... Now, some of the special features that you saw in some of the previous games are not here. I don't remember seeing a test your might or test your luck type of thing. I didn't think they have that here. They did have the crypt where you can buy certain things. I guess you can buy alternate costumes or coins or whatever it may be. So, nonetheless, I think this was a pretty great game, and I have to say this is probably the best one they've done since they've rebooted the series, the game series. But we are yet to see what future games will bring us, but I would suggest checking this one out.